at the at the Office of Developmental Disability Services. The title of today's session is ODDS Job Coaching, the Role of Service Coordinators and Personal Agents. Today we are going to learn about SCEPA's roles when it comes to helping identify a job coach, employment stabilization, and capacity building. This session is the final session of a three-part series about employment for this year's SCEPA Summer Series Learning Program. These sessions are being recorded, and I encourage you to view the previous employment sessions if you haven't done so already. Our amazing presenters today are Teresa Knowles and Erica Drake. Teresa Knowles is the ODDS Regional Employment Specialist for Eastern Oregon, and Erica Drake is the ODDS Regional Employment Specialist for Central Oregon. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and what we're asking is for you to hold on to your questions, kind of keep track of your questions throughout the presentation, and then go ahead and either put your questions into the chat box or raise your hand when the Q&A session pops up at the end. So without further ado, Teresa and Erica, please take it away.
All right, thank you, Jean. So today we wanted to start with a little bit of humor. Oftentimes we start these presentations very, very serious. I think we all have too much seriousness in our lives right now. So this, I don't know if you guys recognize this show, I certainly do. This is a video clip on active listening, something that we hear a lot about in our field. We take trainings on it. We try to build it into our everyday interactions with people, but we certainly appreciated this take on it. So here you go.
Believe this.
Why did you do this, Allie? This is terrible.
Oh, great.
This is Michael's giraffe. He's crying now. Why did you do this?
Cause.
Cause is not an answer.
Active listening.
Ray, that doesn't work.
It works. I just use it on the worst kids in the neighborhood.
Would you look at this? Look what she did.
Just try it. Try it.
No, Ray.
I'll do it. You want me to do it?
No,
I'll do it.
no. Do it. Okay. Allie, let's talk about what you did.
I don't want to talk.
Are you feeling angry?
Reflect back.
You're angry.
Yes.
Okay. But it's not okay to rip up toys when we're angry.
Judgmental.
You are angry because...
Because it used to be your toy.
Oh,
Yes. I don't like Michael and Jeffrey.
I see. You think that Mommy and Daddy pay too much attention to Michael and Jeffrey.
Ray, okay, I was handling this.
They get everything.
Right, and you're upset because we gave them your old giraffe.
I still liked it.
But you weren't playing with it?
But that doesn't matter, though, because it was still yours. And you're mad because we gave it to Michael without asking you, right?
Right.
Well, Mommy and Daddy made a mistake. And everybody makes mistakes, right, Mommy?
Yes.
You feel better now, Allie?
Yes, can I have the giraffe?
Well, it's broken, honey.
I know, I want to try to fix it for Michael.
Uh-huh. This way.
Thank you, Daddy.
All right, so hopefully you guys found some humor in that, and it'll be a good start for our session today. So then let's talk a little bit about why we are here today. So one of the things that we like to do when we're starting trainings is to find out the why. And some of this is because it helps us to kind of focus on some of the things that you guys want to talk about. But if you want to, if you could add in the chat box, feel free to tell us why you're here today. We'll give you a few minutes to do that. refreshers. Refresh about the process. Hope to learn something new. New SC, well, welcome. Really understand, be a better team player, be able to contribute more. Oh yeah, job coaches in Eastern Oregon. Improve services. Another new SC, well, welcome. See, nice to hear this information again.
I saw
Alright.
too, Teresa, someone said SCPA conference was one of my favorite events. And I agree. I was telling Teresa that when we were planning for this a little bit earlier. It absolutely was my favorite conference. So hopefully next year we'll come back together. So thank you for that.
Fingers crossed. It would be nice. So thank you for that. We appreciate you sharing your why. We also have a why. We'll explain this a little bit later in the PowerPoint, but one thing I want to share is that we are training and technical assistants. So we love to be able to provide information to help SCs and PAs and provider agencies learn not only new processes, but maybe different ways that they can provide those services, because our end goal is to make sure that all of our services are provided in a fair and equitable, person-centered way. So anything that we can do to help you guys get there or support you in doing that, we really enjoy it. So that's our why here today. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the learning objectives. So our first one is explaining the role of the SC or PA in the PSW or personal support worker enrollment process. Then we're going to talk about how to support someone to find a job coach. We're going to define job coaching in the 3 different phases of job coaching, and also talk about components of stabilization. So looking at those 4 learning objectives, if you guys could take a look at those and then think about which one might be the most important to you today, and then add that into the chat box, that also helps us to focus on what information you're looking for today. Oh, perfect. Okay. Stabilization. All right. Stabilization, all. Capacity building, all. Explain role, stabilization. All right. Okay. So it looks like we'll spend quite a bit of time on stabilization today. And again, once we go through the PowerPoint at the very end, we're going to have a question and answer. So if you guys have any questions as we're going through the presentation today, please save your questions till the very end. Given how many participants are in the presentation today, if you put your questions in the chat box before the Q&A session, we might lose them, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're able to answer all of your questions. So again, please save those till the very end. All right, thank you guys for that. I appreciate that. So our agenda today, we're going to be talking about the role of the SCPA and again, how to build capacity. We've got a 10-minute break with a pretty funny video for you to enjoy right in the middle. Then we're going to move on to job coaching, stabilization, job placement without VR, and Q&A. All right. So your role, a little humor. If you don't know, Erica and I, we like to laugh. We like to laugh a lot. So Erica, as we were putting this presentation together, we added in as much fun stuff as we possibly could while still being professionals. So this meme right here is pretty funny. So it shows you sitting the wrong way, it shows you sitting the right way, and then it shows us. So what we're trying to encourage today is feel free to shut off your camera. We don't need the camera today. If you don't want to be on camera, that's fine. Get in a comfortable position, grab your cup of coffee, your tea, kick your shoes off, and just enjoy. And again, just relax and participate. We just want you to enjoy the presentation today. And I definitely, by the way, can relate to the cat. So if you feel like you're the cat today, You can add that to the chat box as well. All right, so we are going to talk about team members. So here we have a diagram of the team members. And if you look at the diagram, we have the person in the very center. ODDS does a person-centered approach. They are the ones that lead their meetings. And then they also are the ones that choose the people that they want on their team. So of course, the service coordinator and PA needs to be on their team. And there's a couple of others, but really if they're adults and they don't want mom and dad on their team, mom and dad certainly don't need to be on their team. If they have a friend that they feel really knows them and they want them to be on their team, they can do that. If they have a coworker. So we're going to look at these different supports, and we are going to talk a little bit about what their role is. And then on the next slide, we're going to have a blank diagram. And then I'm going to ask you guys to put in the chat box, try to remember the different team members and have you add them in the chat box. And if you can remember what their role was or any information that they would be able to add to the employment conversation, I encourage you to add that as well. So the person is in the middle, like I said before, the person-centered approach. They are the number one reason why we have a team. So their plans are built on their goals, their dreams, what they like, what they dislike, and they share their ambitions with the team to create their individualized employment goals. And then we have friends or family. This is a great support network. They provide insight, information, and background if needed or wanted. And they may also be able to provide some type of natural support as part of the person's employment. And then we go to residential or home supports. So they provide daily supports for the people. It may be intense supports, it may be very little supports, but they might have a different perspective and understand how a person might work in the home that nobody else knows. For instance, if somebody does chores or if they cook, what does that look like? Do they read a recipe? Do they use the stove independently? Do they follow some sort of chore list? All that information can be used to help build an employment plan. And then of course we have you guys, the county service coordinators and brokerage agents. So you guys are the planners of the team. So you gather and organize information from team members, and then you authorize services that align with the person's employment goal. So throughout this entire process, you're going to be pulling information from each one of these employment team members, including the person, documenting that, and then working with the team to build goals. And then we have the Voc Rehab Counselor. Again, the Voc Rehab Counselor may or may not be participating in the employment team. Sometimes it's at a certain time. If they're not with Voc Rehab yet, you may not have a VRC involved. If they've already been placed, that you might not have a VRC involved. And sometimes people get a job without VR. So the VRC, though, they can help the person create an individual plan of employment and identify appropriate job goals and accommodations and services to address disability-related concerns. They can also help pay for different things. There's a lot of supports that come from vocational rehabilitation that ODDS is not able to replicate. And then we have the employment providers or the job developers. So we call these the keys to success, because if we don't have job coaches, if we don't have job developers, it's pretty hard to place a person, help them stay in their job. So that's another reason why we added capacity into this presentation today. So providers are the trainers, the coaches, and the guides that assist people in exploring, finding, and maintaining successful employment. And then sometimes we don't think about the teachers or transition specialists. If we think about all the information that teachers know about their students, all the documentation, all the plans, over the years, there's files, there's materials that build up that, that teachers have that will show how students learn, what they've learned, what they like. So a lot of times the teacher is the person's first exposure to employment. And so they provide a unique perspective and information that can help guide future employment. And this first exposure to employment cannot be underestimated. The schools also provide previous testing results and job exploration experience. So with that, I'm going to give you guys just a few seconds to think about all that and look at the diagram. And then we're going to switch over to the blank one. And when we move over to the blank one, I'm just going to have you guys add in the chat box what the different roles are. So if you remember the VRC or employment supports, add that in the chat box. And if you can tell me one or two things about what that person or that employment team member can provide, that would be great as well. Okay, so ready? We're going to switch over. All right, so we're going to give you guys some time to add the roles in the chat box. And if you can remember anything about what information they can provide to the employment team, that would be great as well. All right, the person, what they want, like, where, when, and how. The person, perfect. Person. Oh, I love that. Ensure the employment location is a good fit. SCPA is the planner. Exactly. You guys are awesome. Teachers, how someone learns best. Yes, exactly. Oh, there's a big one. Erica, can you see that one? I have a very small chat box. Who this is centered around: family, friends, those who know the individual and provide insight into what their positive skills are. The teacher, someone who has known and been instrumental in teaching. I love it. You guys, this is awesome. School, what has worked, what hasn't worked through work experiences. Exactly. Home support, skills, likes, dislikes, strengths, challenges outside their work roles. Yep. Employment provider, you got it. VRC, agency that assists individuals in finding work. Yep. Family and friends, people who know them well. Yes. And sometimes they know stuff they don't want shared. Family, friends, school staff. Perfect, you guys. SCs, VR counselors, help plan services, natural supports, VR discovery, community connections. Awesome, you guys. VRC helps them find work, teachers. Let's see, that is awesome. You guys did a great job. All right, so we're going to pop back real quick. The first role that you guys put in the chat box was perfect. It's the person, so person-centered. And even in your answers, you were person-centered. And then you guys, the teachers, the SCPAs, teachers, home supports, employment, VRCs, and family and friends, you guys got them all. Nice work, thank you. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about what your role is going to be in the employment process. So here you can see what happens when a person wants a job, what happens when someone is working with VR, and then after someone gets a job. So when someone wants a job, part of what you're going to be doing is meeting with the person and their team, like we talked about before, to create employment goals for them. What jobs are they interested in? What are they not interested in? And do they have previous experience? So all of these questions are going to help guide that conversation. And once a person does express interest in getting a job, the SC and PA, you guys, the job seeker, or another member of the employment team can send a referral to VR. Sometimes that gets confusing. It doesn't have to be the service coordinator, but PA, but best practice is that whoever sends the referral to VR, that they loop in the rest of the team members so everybody knows. And then when someone is working with VR, it's important to attend as many meetings as you can, or at the very least provide information for the VR meetings. So when somebody starts working with VR, have a conversation with the VRC to see what meetings are going to be most important for you to attend. We know you guys are really busy. The chances that you guys are going to be able to attend every single one of them is very slim. We get that. So if you're not able to do that, oftentimes if you talk to the VRC, they're going to tell you which ones are most important. And I think it might depend on the VRC that you're working with. They may have different preferences, but if you're not able to attend the meeting, you're still going to be able to provide information to them by phone or through email. And then case management is also going to be responsible for helping the person find long-term job coaching. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So if you stay connected with VR, they'll be able to tell you when long-term job coaching will be needed. And so I say that if you stay connected, but really what happens, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit too, is that our ask of VR is that they give you guys at least 30 days notice to give you time to work with the job seeker to find an employment provider. So that is the hope. And we do talk to VR about that as well. So just so that you know, even though the wording is a little funky on here, that's not really what we mean. You're going to be notified anyway, but it's always helpful if you are in contact with the VRC and have that good communication, path of communication, and then they'll be able to notify you when stabilization has occurred or when they think it's going to. And so after someone gets a job, it's important to keep those lines of communication open with the supported employee and their job coach. And that way, if any issues arise, you're going to know right away and be able to assist if needed. Sometimes it's going to be something that you can help with. Sometimes it's something that the employment provider can help with. And sometimes it's going to be something that needs to go back to VR so that the VRC can help with that. All right. So thinking about all of this and what the service coordinator and PA role is, we're going to do a knowledge check next. And okay, so we're going to read the knowledge check, then we're going to read off the potential answers. And then if you can put in the chat box which answers you think are correct, you can just put the numbers. You don't need to type out the whole sentence. And then we'll give some people some time to read it and think about that. So the SC or PA has a very important role in helping someone be successful in finding and keeping a job. Which of the following are part of your role in the employment process? So are you guys going to talk to employers to help the person get a job? Are you going to work with the person and their team to develop employment goals? Are you going to decide if a person is work ready, or are you going to support the person and their job coach? All right, nice work. 2 and 4, 2 and 4, 2 and 4. Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to ask a silly question. Tell me why you're not going to decide if a person is work ready. You can add it in the chat box. What does that mean to you, that work ready? Not my expertise. Not a VR counselor, that is their call. All right. Okay, and those are all good answers. So what we're going to do today is talk about a little bit about what work ready is. So work ready in the ODDS world really isn't a thing. So our motto is that everybody can work with the right supports if they want to. So work readiness used to mean something different, right? We had to meet certain quotas, people had to pass certain tests, evaluations. I myself actually ran a sheltered workshop. So we had, work studies and things like that. And so work ready meant something much different back then. Work ready right now, as far as ODDS is concerned, is about motivation. Does a person want to work? Are they, are they motivated to work? Did they ask or express interest in work if they don't use words to communicate? So work ready to us is completely up to the person and their motivation to work. So there's no test to pass. There's no certain services that they have to use before they can get a job. If a person wants to work, it's our job to provide them with the supports to do that. All right. Okay, so there you go. You guys have the right answers. Nice. Oh, somebody put we're an employment first state and we believe that everyone can work. Awesome, you got it. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about how do you help someone find a job coach. So again, I'm out here in Eastern Oregon and I saw somebody put in the chat box about capacity in Eastern Oregon. And I do know that even in the larger areas, capacity is a big issue. So the point of this slide today is we're going to give some ideas, but we're also going to ask you guys to think about things that you've done in your areas as well when you tried to connect somebody with a job coach. So the first thing that we have on here, is looking at the EOS website. Let's see. So EOS website, I'll pop that open real quick. And Erica, I will run this. If you want to give us an example of how to find provider data.
You are on mute, Erica.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. I turned off my video real quick because I missed the SCPA conference, but I have to turn it off because otherwise my internet will be unstable. So I'm going to unshare my video, but hi, everybody. I was just thinking, Teresa, if you could click on, I just want folks to real quick, we're not going to go in depth about this because you guys can figure it out, but let's just say when I was a service coordinator in Deschutes County and I did support some people, let's just say Crook County. So if I was a service coordinator and supporting someone in Crook County and they said, I want a provider, can you walk this group through how they could potentially share who in Crook County is providing employment supports?
Yep, so we'll go to provider info and let's go to.
Well, if you go to data, it works a little bit quicker if you go to data. Yeah, and then see right there, so it goes by county. And so the moral of this story is you could go to every county. So you could even potentially say to a person you're supporting, let's look at Crook first, but let's also look at Deschutes because it's close by. But for this, let's look at Crook. And then the first part just shows how many people have a job. So 13 people in Crook County have a job, but scroll down a little bit, Teresa. Thank you so it shows who the providers are. Ability, but again, nothing against the providers. I would never say that, but it currently shows nobody is supported by Ability. This is good information for choice counseling. Then you scroll down. We have adult learning systems. Again, we have one person, and scroll down a little bit more. And then we have Central Oregon Employment Solutions 12. So if you look at that data, if you're just a data person, just for the sake of looking at that, there's 13 people in Crook County who are in competitive integrated employment. 12 of them are supported by Central Oregon Employment Solutions. So this is where you can just help a person understand, here are your providers, here are your choices. And if providers are savvy, if you click on if you click on Central Oregon Employment Solutions up there, they should have it linked to their specific information and their website. So just a tool, we don't have to go over it in detail. I think EOS, Employment Outcome System, is underutilized because we all have 5,000 things to do. But if you're trying to support a person with specific data, just wanted you guys to know this is a great resource. And if they're moving out of the area, so if they're moving from Crook County to Klamath Falls or from Crook County to Portland, it just can help you with being an advocate for the people you support.
Perfect.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, thanks. So this is the EOS website and you guys will have access to this PowerPoint. And so this link is live, so feel free to use it. So we've got the EOS website first. So for providers in their capacity, as Erica showed us, and then reaching out to the employment providers themselves to see what's happening, what their capacity is. Oftentimes for provider agencies, it's a question of put the cart before the horse. You know, do we hire job coaches and then find people to support? Do we find people to support and then find job coaches? So one of the ways to help with that issue is just to have open lines of communication, participate in your employment first meetings, and then talk about, you know, who's going to be looking for work, who's expressed interest, maybe who is in an employment path. And you don't have to share names, just give people an idea. You know, I've got 3 people in employment path. They're considering looking for work, so I'll keep you informed. And a lot of times that has been really helpful. I've been in employment first meetings in Eastern Oregon where that's an ongoing agenda item where they communicate that. So they'll communicate that, case management will communicate that to providers, the VRCs that are in attendance. And then also the school transition team will share that as well. And so then the third one we have is connecting with PSWs to see if they're interested in job coaching. So one of the things that we have right now is hours and hours of free online trainings for job coaching. So if somebody is actually interested in becoming a job coach, if they've thought about it, if they were concerned about the cost piece of it, there are a lot of free trainings that they can access right now. So they don't even necessarily have to worry about paying for training for the first 2 years, maybe even longer, depending on what training they decide to take. So if anybody is interested, I would suggest explaining to them how much free training is out there. There's a lot of support out there. It's a pretty streamlined process now. So yeah, if somebody was worried about it before, there's a lot of options available now. And then talking to the person in their employment team. And what we mean by that is there somebody in the person's life that might be interested in being the PSW job coach? Would they be interested in connecting with a provider agency to become the job coach? So it kind of works both ways. Sometimes mom would be the best job coach in the world, and sometimes mom would not be the best fit for a job coach. So thinking about who in that person's life might be interested would be helpful as well. Got to look at all the options. And then setting up a time for the person to interview potential providers. We definitely understand that in the larger areas that this can be cumbersome. So I encourage you guys to work with your teams to figure out a way to make that work so that they're able to talk to potential employment providers or potential PSW job coaches to see who would work best with them. And then providing EOS information to help them make an informed decision. Sometimes it's kind of nice to share that with families, to share that with self-advocates so that they can look at the information from a provider agency and make that decision themselves. It's really helpful for them also to have that information before they do potential interviews. I think on the EOS website, it also talks about the number of people served, like Eric has said. So that'll give them some additional information to think about before they actually interview the employment provider. Okay, so we've got some discussion questions. So again, this is going to be something that you can answer in the chat box. So what are some ways you've helped a person find a job coach? And what if there are no job coaches? What if there are no providers? So we've made some suggestions. That is not a full list of options. We get that. And there's going to be some things that you guys have been able to figure out in your own areas that we haven't thought about. So if there's anything that you feel like you could share with your colleagues on the presentation today in the chat box that might be helpful, I encourage you to do that. It's important to be able to learn from each other. And oftentimes what works in one area will work in another. So if you have anything that you feel would be helpful, go ahead and just add it in the chat box. Excuse me. Knowing in advance that no, oops. I missed that one. That we have available. We have the job developer be sure to communicate this with the employer and work to have natural supports in place when possible. Oh, that's amazing. And that's a really good example of that open communication path. Thinking outside the box, work with several and getting word of mouth, referrals, volunteer work. Oh, I love it. Look at the person's strengths and things that they enjoy. So word of mouth, can I ask a little bit more about that? What does that look like on your end? Okay, let's see. If there are no job coaches, look what is available amongst family, friends, relationship map. Awesome. To build natural supports, to meet needs, to get ready. I love it. Traditionally gone through employment providers, but I know that I could do a better job of communicating with PSW and use of the EOS website. Wonderful. You guys, that's awesome. Some agencies may be full, but I've worked with them in the past and they are willing to squeeze folks in. Perfect. I also want to just kind of throw out that PSWs can also work for provider agencies too. So they don't just have to be PSWs, they can also connect with a provider agency, because depending on where they live, whether it be residential or in-home, makes a difference. Although I will say that if somebody lives in foster care or residential and there are no options for provider agencies, or maybe they know somebody that would work best for them, you can always submit an exception for a PSW job coach to work with them. Okay, knowing the supports that someone needs and the ability of the providers. Perfect. You guys are amazing. Thank you for that. Okay, so continuing on with this topic next, Erica is going to talk about this capacity building topic from the perspective of case management. So Erica, take it away.
Yes, and it helps if I unmute. So somebody reminded me while I was yammering on a mute. I think it was Caitlin or somebody. So thank you. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so Angie Temple is a program manager from Harney County. Well, I recruited her to sign up for this training. I like to do, well, I don't even like the word training, I'm sorry. The learning series from people in the field. I think it's more beneficial, but Angie has multiple hats and she was asked to present at another conference or do a training for some stuff in her county. So she was gracious enough to give me at least a breakdown of what she does specific to Harney County. So if you go back to EOS, the website, and you look at different counties, there's several that do not have any provider capacity. Harney County, Lake County, the Dalles and Hood River are kind of on the cusp. So there are counties where I know we bureaucrats who give you transmittals and policy and expenditure guidelines, and we say, here's the menu of services, if you will. And then it's frustrating to say, well, this is great, but the menu, there's no Pizza Hut here, if you will, right? There is nothing here. So, hey, Erica Drake, Regional Employment Specialist, tell me what to do. Well, Angie and her support team figured this out, and I'm sure some of the rest of you have as well. I just happened to reach out to her because we just had recently done a personal support worker job coach training so that we could get some people up and running, and which I'm going to offer that out to some other rural communities in the near future. I know I've talked to Crook and Jefferson, and all of us have, the regional employment specialists have reached out or will soon reach out. But what Angie shared, and I'm not going to go through this in like huge detail, I want to just give you sort of the high level of it. And then if you have further questions, you can reach out to me and I can even connect you with Angie on her time, or I can walk you through what Angie has taught me, because we're all learn from each other. So Angie actually puts together a packet with the application the background check information, the confidentiality and client rights form, the mandatory abuse reporting information, the what to do if injured on the job pamphlet, which you don't have to know that now. You can reach out to me later and I'll get this to you. A request for a copy of the personal support worker's driver's license. There's a tips to become a new personal support worker, the phone numbers, the emails, how to log into Express, how to log into PPL. You know, again, new service coordinators, if I'm talking in acronyms, I apologize, but I will give you my contact information if you have specific support needs with this. And then also the provider care well packet, which is the union information, because all personal support workers are part of a union. That's a whole nother beast. Don't need to know that today. Just I want you guys to know that I and Teresa and the rest of my team can support and encourage potential personal support workers to begin the orientation as soon as possible. I'm not going to click on this link, but this link that will be sent out to you is actually the website that helps personal support workers walk through what trainings are needed, how they begin the orientation, and what to do. Again, I don't want you guys to hear that you have to know all of this. I just want you to know this is a resource to you that I can help with, Teresa can help with, and we have former members on our team. So just high level. And then next steps, in the words of Angie, who happens to have 0 providers in Harney County. We're working on that. Kind of what Teresa was talking about earlier is ask prospective current personal support workers to complete their paperwork and return the entire packet to her, or for your counties, depending on who that admin person is. Rural communities, sometimes the admin person is the program manager and the service coordinator and the eligibility specialist. So I just acknowledge that in every region it's different. And she actually marks on the paper where to sign and does a little bit more work because she's in a smaller county. So this might be something in larger counties like Portland and Salem, maybe an admin person can help with. Depends on your structure. On the PEAA, she makes sure that the job code, so that's the provider enrollment agreement. Sorry if I'm talking in acronyms. There's a little box on there that if you don't check job coach, it's just a personal support worker. So you have to really help a person who wants to be a job coach on the provider enrollment agreement, check that box. That triggers our Express system to go through the training that your regional employment specialist can also support with. And we can help with the free trainings like Teresa was speaking about earlier. Sending all the documents into Express, create the personal support worker in the PPL. Teresa, remind me what PPL stands for. It's our fiscal intermediary, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where the funding goes through, because a personal support worker does not work for an agency provider. They work for the person who hired them. So there had to be an intermediary person, which is PPL. Sorry again to talk in acronyms. And then you have to associate, because the person hires, or the person's legal representative hires the personal support worker job coach. So it has to go through this whole PPL system. Again, you don't need to know that today, and we can support if you need further information. In Harney County, Angie enters the background check into ORCIDS. That's another system, but in other regions, I know Portland, Clackamas, Deschutes, they have somebody assigned to do that. So it depends what county you live in and what your brokerage or CDDP looks like. Work with the case management entity to begin drawing up the provider service agreements. That's the individual support plan. Paper timesheets, those are all on the website that was earlier, how to fill out timesheets when people get paid. Again, please don't think I expect you to know all this. It's just a heads up. And then the case management entity schedules a meeting with the person, the employer of record, if applicable, and the PSW job coach to review and sign the provider service agreement, hashtag the individual support plan, and then update the plan of care to add to the provider. Here's what I'll say with all of that. That was a mouthful. Can you click to the next slide, Teresa? Thank you. That is a lot of information. And I just want to reiterate again, you do not have to know what I just rambled off. I just want you to know there is a system. Angie helped me learn it, frankly, because that's what we do. We learn from each other. And if after this presentation is over and you want to email myself or Teresa and I can connect you, I can get more into the weeds of that. Super high level. So it is 1:47. I think I'm going to go back to the cat position on my recliner with my laptop and maybe wipe off the lipstick. Just kidding. And relax. So if you guys can grab a cup of coffee or a soda, or you just want to check in with your kids, or you just want to chill out and take a minute, there's this hilarious Zoom video. I don't know about you guys. The girl with the zit right there picking is what I hope I never do, which is why my video camera is not always on. So watch the video if you'd like, get up and stretch, do some jumping jacks, or just go do whatever helps you connect to yourself. And if you could promptly come back at 2 o'clock or maybe 1:58, we'll start sharp at 2 though. That would be appreciated. And then we can get to stabilization and Q&A. Okay, Teresa, go ahead and click our video. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for being here on time. Paul? Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tyler.
Sorry I'm late. Having a hard time connecting.
1 second. Paul's having a sound issue.
I can't hear you. Try adjusting your output settings.
Can you hear me?
It's the gear icon.
Tyler, are you on hotel Wi-Fi?
Yeah, why?
Never mind, I got it. I just had to change a few settings.
Great, great. Maybe we can get started then. Oh, great.
I think your mic is speakers.
My mic?
Do you have headphones?
You want me to put them on?
No, I want you to smell them. No, I want you to put them on. Hey, Beth.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. I had to download a new version of the platform.
You should plan extra time for the updates. There's pretty much one every time.
Sounds like someone just joined.
Hey guys, it's John. I had to call in. I'm stuck in traffic. Have I missed anything yet?
No, it would have been nice for you to join the rest of us, but we'll see you when you get home. All right, while everyone is here, finally, Tyler, do you have that financial report?
Well, it's been the last few weeks updating our books, and I got some great news for you. Schedule from this point last year. We had a great Q1.
We lost Tyler, I think.
Am I frozen?
Hey, Trip, I think we lost Tyler.
Yeah, I know, we lost Tyler.
Hey guys, it sounded like Tyler was cutting out.
We know, John. All right, while we wait on Tyler, why don't we go over all of the reports from... Beth, are you with us?
Oh yeah.
Okay, everyone, I know some of you have to leave soon, but I just wanted to go over a couple of the queries before. Okay, excuse me. My wife's out of town this week. I'm so sorry. Okay, you just spilt grape juice on the carpet. Daddy is in a meeting. Tyler, can you go over the numbers one more time, please?
I thought Beth had an adjustment. Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, that's my iTunes.
Hey guys, hang on. I'm gonna join in. Hey, what platform are you guys on? Skype? FaceTime?
It's in the invite.
Oh, never mind. I see it. It's right there in the invite.
Okay, now I can see everybody. Let's reschedule and let's just do a regular old conference call, okay? Paul, can you have David send out the 9-digit passcode? I heard you.
Yeah, he's been here the whole time.
All right, everybody. I'll see you later.
Just a quick check-in. We have about 1 more minute and then we'll get started. I noticed some of the, for those of you folks who have come back from our little break, the video, now that video is hilarious. I agree. Teresa and I and Allison Enriquez, she's our lead for Employment First for the Regional Employment Specialist. We spent quite a significant amount of time looking for appropriate Zoom videos that we wouldn't get in trouble for. We got sidetracked a lot and it was hard to find ones that we wouldn't get HR mad at us. So I'm glad it was humorous for some of you. And some people said it was spot on. Love the video. Definitely how I feel most days. I'm sure like the rest of you, maybe not all of you, I'm ready to get back to in person. Zoom has its place, but yeah, I'm ready not to be the cat on the recliner soon. Okay, it's 2 o'clock. So to respect people's time, let's get back to it. And I know stabilization was a huge, hey, we need help with this. So let's move on to that. I want time for Q&A. Okay, so ODDS Employment Services, specifically for today, is job coaching. For other services, you can absolutely reach out to your employment specialist that will give you a resource too. But specific to job coaching, and our rule for employment is 411-345. I dream about this number. Job coaching is support to assist an individual to maintain an individualized job in a competitive integrated employment setting in the general workforce. It does include customized employment and self-employment. We don't have to get into the weeds of that. That is a complicated system. Again, reach out to your employment specialist. But what does that mean for you? We help people learn job duties, the job coach helps people learn job duties and work expectations. They help the person communicate with coworkers and supervisors. They continue to help the person work on soft skills, showing up on time, putting your pants on if you're on a Zoom call. I'm not kidding, but that was the funny end of that video. And assisting in developing natural supports. I know some of you chatted in about natural supports. I absolutely appreciate that sentiment. We should always be looking at those coworkers who are natural supports when we're developing job coaching goals. Okay, next slide, please, Teresa. So phases of job coaching, again, for any new service coordinators, personal agents in the field, you do not have to memorize this. It's high level, but for the sake of getting the information out there, individuals have 6 months of initial job coaching minus the time they're with their VR job coaching hours used through VR. This can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months to 1 month to up to 6 months. You don't have to memorize that right now. We just want you to understand in rule, 6 months is authorized in initial job coaching. Then a person moves on to ongoing job coaching, which that is when it's your responsibility as a personal agent and a service coordinator to transfer the services to the 18 months of a long-term provider, either a personal support worker job coach or a provider organization. After the 18 months, the service coordinator or personal agent will approve maintenance job coaching, which can last for an extended period of time. It's based off of the original slide that talked about teams, and the provider, sometimes the personal support working job coach, will work with that person's team to develop a FADE plan, which is required. Again, we have forms. Imagine that we're bureaucrats. We have forms to help you create a FADE plan. Providers know how to support with creating a FADE plan. It is approved by the service coordinator and personal agent to authorize that maintenance job coaching. There was a period of time where Office of Developmental Disability Services would approve that, but we've put that into the hands of the SCNPA, who know the person best. Again, you don't have to know this. We can help explain that further if this is too much information all at once, which most likely it is for some folks. Just know you don't have to know this, just know you have support. Okay, next slide, please. So stabilization when working with VR. Again, you don't have to know when, why, what, how, or where, just high level. If a person is in VR services, vocational rehabilitation, The person and their vocational rehabilitation counselor feel like they are doing well on the job. The employer feels like they're doing well on the job. Again, that's not for you to know, that's for the job coach, job developer, maybe the personal support worker to know. You don't have a duty to meet with employers. That is not your job. That is the VRC, job developer, and job coach's job. So they will report back to you what the employer has stated. The person is working the number of hours chosen in a job goal that matches their plan. An example of this is sometimes people will get a job on their own. Let's say they met a neighbor, back to relationships, and they've decided they want to work at the scare grounds that are coming up. It's October. It's not their dream job, but it's a great job. But it's 5 hours, not 20. And their goal is really to make masks for people working at the scare grounds. They're not stable yet. That just means it's a step towards stability. Then when they get their job at the mask building organization, it might be stability. Just a high level example, but just kind of to think about it that way. Then the transfer of services to long-term provider agency is complete. But all of those components, again, there's, imagine this, a huge transmittal and a huge worker's guide to help you walk through this. You don't need to know it today, but this is a high level example of what it looks like. Next, Teresa, please. And then sometimes people don't use VR. There's reasons for that we don't need to get into right now. I'm hoping we have some Q&A around this. But the person and their employment team, so maybe now it doesn't involve VR, they feel they're doing well on the job. The employer feels, same concept, doing well on the job. Person is working the number of hours chosen and in a job goal that matches the plan, and long-term supports are in place. The only difference here is VR isn't involved, which we'll get to in a minute. If the person gets a job and is not connected to vocational rehabilitation, you, the personal agent and service coordinator, has the authority to authorize up to 30 days of initial job coaching, and then our Office of Developmental Disability Services, will approve extended hours if we need to. We'll get to that in a minute. But the moral of this story, the team needs to meet immediately to discuss whether or not a referral to vocational rehabilitation is needed based off of our stability workers guide. Okay, next, Teresa. This is why I'm not rushing through, just so you all know, I'm really wanting to save time for Q&A. So there is an exception request for ODDS funded job coaching without VR. We have a form. This may occur if the person finds a job on their own or obtains a job during employment path services. You can look at when Caitlin sends out the different trainings and recordings from other sessions. Like Jean was saying, we have 3. You can get deeper in what that means, or discovery. Then there's some other options about how it looks. So this graph you can use as a desktop after this training, but basically it says if a person obtains a job and is not connected, here's like the arrows, what you do. If yes, all of the above. If no, all of the above. I don't want to read this to you because I respect that you guys can read this on your own, and we'll get to Q&A, but there's a live link there. So if a person, the answer is yes, you submit the job coaching without VR form. If the answer is no to the above questions, then you send a referral to VR as soon as possible. And what we're doing at the state level, we have recognized that the 30-day, currently as it stands now, it's still the 30 days. Because of COVID-19, we have been asked not to push any new policy out. You guys can imagine why. You have enough transmittals to work on. But we had been working on a policy workers guide transmittal that would say, instead of the 30 days, we need to push it out to 120 days that case managers can authorize the service without VR for many reasons that I'm sure you guys have suggestions or opinions about, which we would appreciate, that you wouldn't have to go through the exception process. You would just automatically authorize the 120 days while they're waiting for VR. I think that's going to change the game for you guys so that it's not more paperwork for you. As soon as we're given the green light, that policy will be out to you. But again, The last thing you guys need right now is another policy transmittal. Okay, next slide, Teresa. So the takeaway, I hope if I had any takeaway from this whole presentation, besides the cat on the Zoom couch, and besides the humor in trying to get through, we all are, feeling a little bit disheartened by the state of affairs and ready to get back together. And I acknowledge that with you guys. I acknowledge that we push out way too many transmittals, but we're doing the best we can, just like everybody else. But my takeaway from this specific presentation about job coaching, specifically for a competitive integrated job, for somebody who has looked to us for support, has said, I have a job, I want a job, I'm ready for support. Don't let our bureaucracy or our forms or our workers guide be your barrier. You have your regional employment specialist to reach out to. We will push through those barriers and go straight, do not pass go. The person will collect $200 and we are going to put a job coach in place as soon as possible. No questions asked. We're going to do that. And I've done that for Teresa and John Day when she was on a much needed hiatus. Her county called and said, what do we do? And we brainstormed. So I and my 5 co-workers, that is our job, is to figure out how to make sure the bureaucracy does not get in the way of supporting you guys to help push through that to get the person who's in services the support they need on competitive integrated employment. So I hope that's the most important takeaway besides taking care of yourself. And Teresa, next slide, and then we'll get to Q&A because we're about 19 minutes.
All right, so on this page, we have a list of resources. And again, you'll receive this PowerPoint and all of these links are live. So there's one for all of our DD services. There's one for our Employment First initiative. There's one about DD funded services. This third link has what we call Powtoons, and it's really helpful when you're sharing information about DD services with self-advocates and their families. It's a really good visual explanation of what to expect, how to understand what those services are, and then it provides them with more information so they can make an informed choice. And then we have a link for VR services. And then the second to the bottom, you'll see it says how to enroll as a PSW job coach tool. So I encourage you guys to take a look at that, especially how it pertains to our conversation to do with capacity building. You feel free to share this with anybody that might be interested in becoming a job coach. It's a really nice walkthrough on how to do it, where to send things, what forms need to be filled out. And as Erica has stated, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your employment specialist. And then the very last one is a PSW brochure. So again, feel free to share that with your PSWs. Okay. So when we first started the presentation today, we saw in the chat box that there were several new service coordinators or personal agents with us today. So if you, and I'm sorry, my neighbor is doing construction on this house. So if that's really loud, I apologize. The joys of doing Zoom calls. So regional employment specialists like it says, we're regional. There's 6 of us in Oregon, and we're always available. We'll give our emails and our phone numbers on the next slide, but what we do is we can help answer employment service questions. We can find policy and rule citation and offer training. So if there's something that you're looking for and you just cannot find it, please send us an email and we will get it for you as soon as we can. Another thing that we do with the offering trainings is that we do what we call stop, drop, and assess. And so what we can do is if there's an issue that you're seeing a trend with, it might have to do with providers, it may have to do with PSWs, it may have to do with service coordinators related to employment. If there is a need, we can assess that and we can provide technical assistance and to assistance and training to help provide information and remove any barriers that might be causing for you. And we frequently collaborate with other agencies. We always collaborate with other agencies to make sure that employment services are best meeting the needs of people we support. Every single one of the regional employment specialists has been in this field a super long time. We all come from different backgrounds. Erica's is case management and special education, and mine happens to be provider agencies. We have somebody that was with VR. We have somebody that was a job developer. So we do have all of us regional employment specialists have backgrounds that will help us to not only be able to provide information to you guys, but understand the perspective that you're coming from as well. And then we can also help, with what you want to know about employment supports. I know that all of us have had one-on-ones with case management, providers, job developers to kind of explain what those employment supports are. And then the last thing is, are there any questions that we can answer for you today? So I'm going to pop over here. I just really want to quickly show you that our contact information is on here. So here's Nate Deeks. He's in the metro area. Then we have Brad Collins, Salem area, Micah Cisco, Melanie Hartwig in Southern Oregon, Erica Drake, half of Oregon, Teresa Knowles, myself over here in Eastern Oregon. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can call us, you can text us, you can email us, we can set up Zoom meetings. So whatever you need, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We literally are here to provide support to you, so don't hesitate. And then we are here at the questions. So now is when, if you have any questions that you've saved to this point, feel free to put them in the chat and we're going to get to as many as we can. I think we have, 15 minutes. So we've got a good chunk of time.
Yeah, and if somebody also, instead of chat, if you want to raise your hand, Jean will unmute you and you can ask a question live. We'll turn off the chat if that works for people. So whatever.
I can't see anybody's hand raised. I'm sorry.
Jean will be able to, right?
Okay.
Jean?
So far, no one's hand is up,
yeah,
but you should be able to see it if they do.
Okay.
I know stabilization was the topic that we saw come up often in the very first when we talked about the learning objectives. Thinking back to the PowerPoint and the stabilization slides that Erica went through, are there additional questions or information that you guys are looking for?
Yeah, that's a good follow-up, Teresa. I feel like I ran through it fairly fast, which again, I don't want any case management entity to think they have to know this today. I just basically want you to know you have a resource and we can absolutely support you through that. But if you have a high level question, please ask it. Or if not, you now have our emails. I know sometimes in the field, you want to ask a question that's more specific to a person and protecting people's right to confidentiality. I appreciate that. So again, that resource page. Here, Sheila, capacity is an ongoing issue which contributes to stabilization. I realize there's no immediate answer, just sharing. Yeah, I agree, Sheila. And that's, no, gee, it's okay. That's part of one of, Teresa and I happen to be in rural communities. And one of our passions, and I've said this louder than maybe some of my supervisors want to hear, I say one person in Lakeview is just as important as 300 people in the metro area. So Teresa and I are definitely advocates, as well as Melanie in Southern Oregon, around some smaller communities. But yeah, I hear that loud and clear, which is why Angie from Harney County really dove deep into how to support the personal support worker angle. We've had some success, not as much as we prefer, but we're going to just keep on keeping on. So thank you for that, Sheila.
So then there's a question, is there an easier way to find employment worker guides on the ODDS website? So I'm not sure what website, there are several. I know we have the ODDS policy website, which actually has information broken down according to subject. And so I don't know, Erica or Jean, if you're able to put that in the chat.
Yeah, Jean, could you put that in the chat real quick? I think someone else did. I think Chrissy just did.
All right, there you go. Thank you.
But could you also, Jean, just stick in the chat maybe so Angela Yeager is our communications coordinator specific to Employment First. Of course, with COVID, she's doing about 20,000 other things, but she aligns that specific website based off of the most recent employment related worker guides transmittals. So if you look at it, it's alphabetical. I can't even say that word. It's in alphabetical order. So let's say you're looking for a transition age. If you go all the way down to T, it will give specific transmittals, specific worker guides. It will give you the most recent at the top and then the ones that superseded it after, just so you can maybe see the history. Same with expenditure guidelines. I know on some of our links, the expenditure guidelines go to maybe 2020. We have a most recent one on the IDD policy link on the Employment First link for the Office of Developmental Disability Services. The most recent expenditure guidelines you can find there as well. Or you could always email your regional employment specialist and ask for the most recent links if you need that extra support. Okay, what are the steps after a personal agent fills out the job coaching without VR documentation in terms of initial job coaching? Oh, that's a very good question. So before we gave it into the case management entity's hand to authorize the not using job coach form, we did have a process where someone from our office would approve it. We decided that was double work, and you guys are experts, so it's in your authority based off of the stabilization guide to do that. So you will send that form to the mailbox that's on the form. That gets put in a file, if you will. It gets quality assurance, a certain percentage from someone from our office, which doesn't necessarily mean yours would get quality assurance, but just know that there is a process to that. Then you can just go ahead and authorize our rule for job coaching. So 6 months of initial, 18 months of ongoing, and then on to maintenance. So the same rule applies for how many hours a person is authorized job coaching, but we have given you that authority as a case manager. And I don't mean that condescendingly. It's in your expertise to then go ahead and fill out the not using VR based off of the vote stabilization guide, and then go ahead and just authorize those services in Plan of Care. Plan of Care will not block it from you. They will not say you did not have the expertise. You absolutely have that authority. But I caution just making sure sometimes not using VR could be maybe the person had a bad experience, which I acknowledge that and I appreciate that. But maybe even calling your regional employment specialist or your VRC that's designated specific to IDD, or maybe your transition network facilitator, and having a conversation like, why was that a bad experience, and could we potentially pick another vocational counselor and go down that avenue before we just throw in the flag that we don't need VR. So again, back to the employment team, but it is in your authority to go ahead and authorize that once you turn in the not using VR form. I hope that answered it. Or for okay, there's another question now. I can't see. Yes, the slides will be, not emailed. I'm sorry, Yasmin, the emails, the slides. Well, Caitlin, tell me if I'm wrong. I think, Caitlin, at the end of the summer learning, there'll be something. Could you jump in, Caitlin?
Yeah, so today I'll send a survey and I'll send the slides from this session.
Oh,
and then later on, probably in October, you'll see the recordings of the sessions that were done in September.
Thank you.
On our website. Thank you.
Thank you. And then there was one more question I was missing. I saw one that was important. Can we find the, no, it wasn't that. The link. I think we answered, is there an easier way to find the employment workers guide? Emailed or the steps people job coaching. My understanding is that the goal would be to develop natural supports on the job for employment services to eventually phase out. Well, I haven't been in a position where this has happened. Would there be some value for an employer to at least be supported to connect with the SCPA and perhaps be integrated in the ISP team? Wow, that's a really, really good question. Sorry, and there's another question here, Melanie, maybe you answer. I think my question was skipped. Can you provide the transmittal title or number regarding the CME only being able to authorize 30 days? I think Melanie stuck that in, but Melanie, could you, or Jean, could you put in the specific transmittal for that?
I think I did. It's the
Okay.
the one at the very bottom. It's the worker guide specific to stabilization.
Thank you. Thank you. And Chrissy, if you didn't get that, let me know. So then the natural support question. And I don't, I'm not, and maybe Teresa can help me with this. I caution service coordinators and personal agents to get too involved with employers because that's not your role. And I try to support people to stay in your lane. That's a super disrespectful term, but I try to stay in my lane because we all have a duty, right? We all have a way. But I think if the person says to you, like, hey, we know you're in a small rural community and you always you always shop at Ace Hardware and you have that relationship, then potentially, but we kind of have to be careful about the difference between our bureaucracy and employers, because employers don't want to know about our forms or our transmittals. So I caution, but Teresa, you were a job developer. Could you maybe answer that question more articulate?
I think I actually need to ask a question about it. So it says, my understanding is that the goal would be to develop natural supports on the job for employment services to eventually phase out. Is this just in general, or is this somebody who's been placed without VR or using VR? Just curious. Okay, let me see, new message, using VR services. Okay, so I mean, the thought is that employment services will fade out. And while that won't always happen, there's going to be some people that are going to need at least some supports during the time, some of the time. Natural supports on the job are fabulous. One of the words of caution that I'll throw out is that natural supports also change as well. So if we have natural supports on the job, say a coworker that somebody is really relying on and they move to a different job, I've seen things kind of crumble when that happens. So I want to be careful about that too. I also want to throw out that natural supports don't always mean a person. It can mean a tool that somebody can learn to use independently to help them increase their independence. So I mean, the simplest thing I can think of is a checklist. So rather than somebody always turning to a coworker and asking for assistance, they would have a tool. So a checklist. So that being said, I think there are situations where a case manager might find it useful to be in contact with the employer if supports have faded. With that being said, one of the things that we ask of employment professionals and job developers and job coaches is that when they do fade out, that they provide information to the employer. So if something happens, they can come back in and assist. So even though employment supports have faded, that doesn't mean that they can't come back and help. They are supposed to give the employer contact information. So if further on down the road, something happens, maybe job duties change or the manager changes and they need additional supports, they'll contact the provider agency or maybe the VR counselor to help with that. And best practice would be that you would also be looped in. So I just wanted to know that once those employment supports fade, it does not mean that they can't come back in or that they won't have any contact with the employer.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Teresa. And it makes me think, like, thinking about it from a logical, not saying you're not logical, but from a logical perspective. I am a helicopter mom. I can't help it. I try really hard not to be, but I have to let some of those things go. So the driving or the locker, or all those things that, you know, my adult kids get into, even relationships. And I try really hard not to over advocate for them because it's embarrassing. So if you have that same thought in your heart and mind that you're supporting a person, you ask them first. Like I asked my kids, can I go decorate your locker? And they're like, no, mom, you are the weird mom on campus. No, but I asked them, right? And then if they said, sure, mom. So it's the same thing. People are people. We ask questions. And if it's okay with the person to potentially reach out, then I would say yes, with caution, like Teresa said, that you still always loop back to the job developer. They are experts on this. They built the relationship, sometimes way before the person got a job. So loop back to that team, maybe potentially have a team meeting and say, would this be appropriate? Because we don't want to create a system where employers, our competitive integrated employers, rely on our bureaucracy. We want them to hire people competitively in integrated jobs, just like the rest of us, but we all need support sometimes. So remembering that we all need supports, but how do you thoughtfully ask a person how they want those supports to look in their everyday life? Not going and decorating in the locker and being the weird mom that everyone makes fun of. Hashtag Erica Drake. I didn't do it, I swear. My daughter told me no.
All right. So Amber says, hi, Erica. Side note, my mom is a former job developer and is here listening to this webinar with me. She has been commenting about what a great presentation you are all offering.
Nice.
So
Good.
Amber, does your mom want to come back into the field?
Yeah,
We have
come on, mom.
We have openings everywhere. We're building capacity, folks. That's what we're doing today.
Yeah, and then Teresa, can you just go to the next slide? I know we have like 10 seconds. We have like no seconds. No, the next one. Oh, so thank you. Teresa and I just wanted to give this acknowledgement. We absolutely appreciate your time. We know that stuff is coming in fast and furious. Thank you for coming. And again, go to that email list. And if you have any questions, we will either get back to you or we will get our natural supports, which mine is Teresa, or our coworkers to answer your questions as well.
She's happily retired. Well, enjoy.
Okay, well, good. You enjoy that too.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Thursday. Happy pre-Friday.
Happy almost Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you.